If you've been following the channel or my Twitter, you'll know I've been playing quite a bit of Tera Box recently, and I've had some solid results with it too. I've even got a few compliments from some of the top players and streamers.
I really like this 60. So if you're looking for my thoughts on a 60 to go with Tera Box, Harper's List from Johannesburg special event got second.
With all the time I've spent on the deck, I've come to understand its strength, but also its biggest weaknesses. That weakness? Hand Disruption. Hand Disruption has been part of the Pokemon TCG for as long as the game has existed, so most of us know just how brutal it can be. And now, with the best deck in format running arguably the strongest Disruption card ever printed, Unfair Stamp, it's become even harder to recover once your hand has been destroyed. So I've started thinking, how can we keep our beautiful Water Ogerpon from doing its Water Ogerpon thing, even in the face of heavy disruption? And honestly, the answer is quite simple. Pidgeot EX. This stage 2 has been a staple since its release thanks to its quick search ability, which lets you grab any card you want from your deck once during your turn. And a deck that relies so heavily on combos, that kind of consistency is huge. Just remember, this deck really doesn't need much to get going. My discard pile usually looks like 3 Nest Balls and 2 Crispins most of the time. You might think that setting up a stage 2 is a big ask for this kind of deck. But with Fan Rotom and Noctowl, it's actually really easy. One Jewel Seeker into Ultra Ball and Ray Candy, and you've got everything you need to get your big bird online. Not only does Pidgeot help you recover from Unfair Stamp, it also smooths out matchups against decks like Gardevoir that just love spamming Iono, and having access to Quick Search every turn lets you run creative techs like a 1-1 Dusknoir line and Briar to help set up checkmate scenarios and flip bad matchups into favorable ones. Still not convinced? Well, check out how this game ended, and just keep in mind this was only my second ever game with this version of the list. So if we take a quick look at the scenario over here, our opponent is on Gardevoir EX, they have 2 prizes remaining while we still have 4. They just hit us with an Iono, and that put our pretty good hand to the bottom of our deck, and now we're left with 5 mediocre cards. And without Pidgeot in this scenario, we lose the game on the spot here. We have no access to the Noctowls, or just any way to find anything decent. So Pidgeot over here comes in incredibly clutch, and is able to find us everything we need to actually win this game. So you'll see that off of the quick search, we actually go and grab ourselves a Nest Ball so that we can grab Pheasantipity, because if we're able to find any Ultra Ball or Noctowl off of this Pheasantipity, we basically just win the game. We grab the Nest Ball instead of the Pheasantipity straight away because we want to thin out the deck a little bit, because Nest Ball just isn't useful right now. And off of this Flip the Script, we get double Ultra Ball, which literally just gives us everything we need to win the game. This is what I'm saying, this deck is so combo heavy that one Pidgeot quick search can find us basically everything we need. Obviously we got a little bit lucky with the Pheasantipity, but we had so many outs to this Noctowl already, and now Noctowl can just go ahead and grab ourselves the Briar and a Buddy Puffin. We'll grab the Buddy Puffin because we just need a little bit more bench Pokemon to take the knockout on the active with our bench Terapagos. But you'll think, how are we actually taking 4 prize cards this turn? Like, we can kill the active, which is 2, we can kill one of the bench monkeys with a bomb, which is 3, but how do you take the 4th? Well, that's where Briar comes in. You'll see us now activate the Briar, then we take an extra prize card. And since Terapagos is very much so a Terra Pokemon, we can go Ray Candy into our Dusknoir. Make sure we play the Briar before the Dusknoir, because Briar only works when they're on exactly 2 prize cards. And then we'll use Curse Blast to take a knockout on either the Ralts or the benched Munkidori. Then after that, we can just retreat into our Terapagos and take the knockout with all of our benched Pokemon, and that's how the game ends. Being able to go from behind against Gardevoir, which usually you'd be ahead, and just take 4 prize cards in one turn, thanks to our big bird over here. Moving into the actual deck list, you'll see that we aren't playing common cards that you usually see in Tera Box nowadays, being the Pikachu and the Grass Ogerpon and all those kinds of cards, because we choose to use just the Terapagos and the Water Ogerpon as our attackers. We also have the Clefairy as our way to counter Dragapult, because that is still just a really strong deck in the format, and we also have Ursaluna, which is also just another great card to close out games if we aren't able to pull off any Briar shenanigans, and it also really helps us in that 2-2 trade against decks like Raging Bolt and stuff. But then again, against Raging Bolt, we can still use our Briar and Dusknoir combo to actually take 4 prize cards in one turn. For example, if we use Terapagos to take the first 2 prize cards on a Raging Bolt, and then even if they take the next 2 knockouts, all we have to do is activate our Briar, use Dusknoir to kill one of their bench Noctowls because they play Noctowl now, and then we can use Terapagos to just take 3 prize cards on whatever was inactive. So we'll have Dusknoir taking the 1, and then we'll have the last 3 from the Terrapagos. So against a lot of these decks that we used to go 2-2-2, we're no longer forced into that prize mapping because now we can just go 2-1-3, which is kind of funny if you ask me. Another card that you might be thinking like, why is it included, is the Rocky Helmet. Well, if you take a look at the deck, we don't really have any great ways to go through Pikachu. That is one of the main reasons Badoo is included in the deck, because it can break through Pikachu. Dusknoir can also break through Pikachu, but Rocky Helmet is also just great to break through Pikachu over here, because now against Joltik Box we can go Terrapagos to knock out one of their Iron Hands for 2 prize cards, then they'll come in with the Pikachu and knock out our Terrapagos, and if we have a Rocky Helmet attached to it, then they'll go down to 180 HP, and we can then promote our other Terrapagos and take a knockout using him, and then from there all we really need is to use our Ursaluna to close out the game. And if they promote their own Ursaluna, then we can just use our Dusknoir to pop into their Ursaluna and help our Ursaluna to hit that damage. So all of these cards synergize really well together. And another nice thing is we're playing 3 Rare Candy and a heavier 2-2 Pidgeot line. So being able to set up this Pidgeot isn't as difficult as you'd think. Same as the Dusknoir. The Dusknoir has helped out so much, but in those matchups where you do need it, it is incredibly important. Like, we were not beating that Gardevoir if it wasn't for Dusknoir, and it just gives us so many more options to set up checkmates, because now our opponents know they can't just sit behind a more tanky Pokemon and Terrapagos can't get through it, because now we can use our Dusknoir, pop that into the active, and Terrapagos can just one-shot basically everything in format now. Because with a full bench from Terrapagos, we're doing 240, plus the 130 from Dusknoir, we're hitting 370 damage, which one-shots everything in format. Another great attacker is the Clefairy. Obviously, the more benched Pokemon we have and the more benched Pokemon our opponent has, that's more damage that this Pokemon does. So it is also a great attacker into decks like the Mirror Match and Terrapagos, and also, like we said already, Dragapult decks already. It's also a good attacker into Raging Bolt. It's super easy to set up, thanks to our 2 of Crispin, which is over here. You'd think maybe 2 Crispin might be a little bit low, but you gotta remember we are also playing the Palpad, because now essentially we can get back all of these supporters. So if you really think about it, there's essentially 4 bosses in the deck, 4 Crispin, 2 Judge, 2 Research, 2 Turo, and 2 Iono, thanks to this one of Palpad, and because we're playing Pidgeot, it's incredibly easy to find. So we can just go Jewel Seeker, and then go and grab our Palpad and whatever else we need, and then Palpad back, let's say, boss into the deck, and then we can quick search for that boss that we just shuffled back into the deck and win the game like that. And all of this paired with the Pheasantipity allows us to draw out of basically any scenario ever. If we put down to 1 card in hand, we can use Fez to find 3 extra, and then on top of that we can now use Pidgeot to search our deck for a Noctowl, which can search our deck for 2 of any trainer cards, and from there we're usually just winning the game. Some cards that this deck is lacking is a Stadium Bump. We only have the 2 Aerosaur Underdepths, so we don't have the Jamming Tower like the other decks had, like my old Tera Box had. We had the Jamming Tower, which we were able to bump our own Aerosaur Underdepth, get rid of all these damaged Pokemon on the bench, and then just win the game like that. We don't have access to that, unfortunately, but I don't think we really do, because this deck is, I guess, a little bit faster pace and a little bit more aggressive, thanks to the cards like the Dusknoir and the Briar. Alright, that's all. Peace.